Once upon a time, there were two broody hens, and they were sitting side by side in a nesting box area where there was a hatch that you would lift in order to grab the eggs. Well, the first chicken had laid a large clutch of eggs, and in the beginning of the month, the farmer was able to get in there and mark with a pencil which eggs had been laid, because she wanted the chicken to hatch out a few eggs, but not all the eggs. And she would collect eggs from both the first chicken and the second chicken that were side by side there. Well, the first chicken became very aggressive towards having her eggs taken away. So the farmer was skipping chicken number 1, just going to chicken number 2, getting her eggs. After about 21 days, the first chicken was able to hatch out a whole mess of little chicks, and she abandoned the box. And there were a few eggs that were still left in the nest, and they had the pencil markings from the beginning of the month. Farmer started thinking, oh, these must be rotten. I'll get those later. And the next day, she goes over to get fresh eggs, and chicken number 2 has now moved over to chicken number 1's nesting box, sitting on the eggs that had pencil markings, and she didn't lay a fresh egg. The farmer came by the next day, and sure enough, no more fresh eggs. The farmer thought, well, what's the harm in the chicken sitting on some rotten eggs? If she stopped laying, and now she's broody, so she thinks she's going to hatch these eggs out. The farmer leaves the chicken alone. There's all this other stuff going on in the farmyard, taking the farmer's attention away. And after about a week, she kind of forgets about checking in on the broody hen. Well, after about 10 days, 15 days, towards the end of the month, because remember, 21 days had already passed, and then another week passed, and then we were almost at the end of another week. It was the end of the month. The farmer realized, oh, there's some of those rotten eggs are, probably in that nest. I haven't seen that chicken come out. Farmer goes, sure enough, chicken number 2 still in there, sitting on the old eggs that had pencil markings. Farmer decides, okay, as soon as I see this chicken leave this coop, I'm going to get these eggs and get rid of them. They're obviously rotten. And the next day was Sunday. Farmer goes to the nest. Oh, look, the chicken is gone. And she grabs the 2 pencil-marked eggs and goes off to the compost pile. Well, she drops one egg, and it lands in the soft, decomposed manure area. And she figured the ground must have been too soft because the egg did not bust. Now, typically, when the farmer would throw a rotten egg into the compost pile, there would be this gross but satisfying pop, quickly followed by a nasty sulfur smell from the rotten egg, and she would use her boot to push over some manure on top of the sulfur busted egg, and would go about her business. Well, when she dropped that first egg, nothing happened. She took the second egg, and she was going to aim and try to hit that first egg that was on the ground in the compost pile with the second egg. And she goes and she gets dead aim, hits the first egg with the second egg, but nothing happened. Neither one of the eggs had a mark on them. Neither one of them busted. And what was going on? It really perplexed the farmer. So she took the toe of her boot and she went to the first egg and she went to pop it by touching her toe onto the eggshell, and she just barely put some pressure onto the egg when she suddenly heard beep, 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 beep. Oh my goodness. The farmer's heart sunk into her stomach. So she reached down and she's trying to see how bad the damage was. She's pulling off the eggshell as gently as she can, and the little chicken side just beep, 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 beep. And the farmer sees blood. And the just feels so bad and guilty, and was like, why? How has this happened? This egg is, beyond 21 days old, and didn't make any sense. Well, she still had the other egg, and she had this little chicken that had a little bit of blood, and it was still chirping. Maybe there was hope. So she rushes back over to the chicken coop and she lifts up the hatch, hopefully thinking she could sneak it in there, but no. Who was in the egg box? Mama Chicken. And she was angry because her eggs were gone. But quickly the farmer, even though she got pecked a few times, put the little squished chick and the unhatched egg into the nest and shut the hatch and went back inside feeling just so terrible. Well, the next day, thinking that there was going to be a dead chick in the little hatching box, the farmer goes and looks, but there's no chick, and there's no mama, and there is only this one egg sitting there in the hatching box, the same egg from yesterday. But she looks at the egg very carefully, and sure enough, there was just the smallest little dimple in the shell, and there was life inside the second egg. Well, it seemed like Mama Chicken wasn't going to come back, and the farmer felt like this was going to be her good penance so that she could make up for what happened yesterday. And she took care of that egg and kept it in her hand nice and warm the whole time. Even when her children asked her to take her to the skating rink, she ended up taking the egg with her to the skating rink and kept it warm by putting her hand over it the whole time. And even when it was bedtime, the farmer put the little egg on some soft towels and had her hand over the egg, keeping it warm. She didn't have to wait all night, because at about 1 a.m., the second egg popped open and hatched and cracked, and a little chick came out peeping away. Thank goodness. And the farmer felt bad that her husband would be woke by the little cheeping of the baby chicken, but she was so happy that the second chick had ended up hatching. But now there was the predicament of how to get the little baby chick over to its mom. Before the rising sun, 4 hours later, the farmer quickly got dressed and took the little baby chick, who had dried off and had been kept warm the whole time, into the barn. And it was chilly at that time. And the farmer knew that she had to find the mom so that this little baby chick would stay warm. She couldn't put it just back in the nesting box. The nesting box was empty. Where was Mama Chicken? Mama Chicken was down at the barn with other hens who had hatched babies. It was like this little gathering of hens who had babies, like a nursery. It was a chicken nursery. And the farmer went in, had the light from her phone in one hand, and she had a little baby peeping chick in the other. As soon as she got over to the where the mom was, the baby was cheeping, and the mom started talking back to it. So the baby was cheep, and the mama was pop, and the baby was cheep, and the mama was pop. So they were talking back and forth already by the time the farmer got into the barn door. So that was a good sign. So the farmer goes over, she holds her light over the mama chicken. Now the farmer did not want to get pecked or attacked by Mama Hen, who was sitting and warming the chick who had been squished in the compost pile. Thank goodness it had survived. It was and it too could be heard cheeping underneath the mom. So, taking careful aim, the farmer dropped little chick number 2, and before the little chick could even get down to the ground, Mama Chicken opened up her wing and scooped that little baby chick up underneath her. The whole time, talking to it, chirp, chirp, pop, pop, and it was heartwarming. It really made up for the terrible feeling that the farmer had the previous day. And I'm glad to say that both chicks ended up being just fine. And one chick was named Squishy, the first chick that hatched, and the second chick was named Skate because it had gone skating during the time that it was hatching. Well, Squishy ended up being a hen, and Skate ended up being a rooster. So, they grew up. Mama Chick was showing them all around how to scratch in the dirt, how to drink of milk. Things were going very well until the chickens got a little bit older and had to discover their place in the world. Skate decided that he was going to try to be like a pipe fitter. As you can see here, it didn't really go so well. Now sister Squishy, on the other hand, she decided that she was going to try her hand working with the plow horses. She is all the time seen getting acquainted with her good friend Ellie, our draft horse, our Clydesdale, and she's always hanging out the barn making sure that our horses are taken care of, and quite the little mascot. Both chickens, Skate and Squishy, come to roost in the barn. They are just such homebodies. They never strayed very far from where the nursery was. And they are still there. Their mom still kind of hangs around with them and making sure that they take care of their adolescent years, or months as it's seen in the chicken world. But anyway, thank you for listening to my story about Squishy and Skate, the tale of two chickens. Like, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the little notification bells. And thank you so much for following this channel. Bye!